Hello, it's Monday, March 1st. I'm Pastor Ann Fenlason from Trinity Lutheran Church in Long Lake, Minnesota. Welcome. This week, here for our Wednesday service, we are doing scriptures that are found in the Lenten devotions, a story to tell. And the story that's being focused on this week is one of my favorites from the Gospel of Mark. It's from the 5th chapter of Mark. It is the story of the hemorrhaging woman and Jairus, whose daughter is very, very ill, is dying actually. But before that story is told, that story starts at verse 21. Before that, we get the story of the Gerasene demoniac, which is, again, put together with the story of Jairus and the bleeding woman, just makes a compelling chapter in Mark's gospel. It fills it up with richness, with healing, with who God is, who Christ is. And I encourage you to read through all of chapter 5 here in the next day or two. But I'm going to read for you the story of the demoniac here today to just preface what we'll hear on Wednesday, because there's some really great stuff that leads into that healing of that we find from verse 21 on. So from verse 1, chapter 5 of Mark. They came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. He lived among the tombs, and no one could restrain him anymore, even with a chain. For he had often been restrained with shackles and chains, but the chains he had wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke in pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. So the townspeople were in charge of finding this man when he broke free and chaining him up again back in the tombs. Continues with verse 5. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always howling and bruising himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. And he shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." So before the spirit even got to Jesus, Jesus had called that spirit out of the man. Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." These are the spirits talking. He begged him earnestly not to send them out of the country. Now there on the hillside a great herd of swine was feeding, and the unclean spirits begged him, "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and were drowned in the sea. The swineherds ran off and told it in the city and in the country. Then people came to see what it was that had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the demoniac sitting there clothed and in his right mind, the very man who had had the legion, and they were afraid. These townspeople were afraid of the healing of this poor man who had been tormented for years. Those who had seen what had happened to the demoniac and to the swine reported it. Then they began to beg Jesus to leave their neighborhood. They were so afraid they did not want Jesus, the man who did this amazing healing. They didn't want Jesus around anymore. And as Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed by demons begged him that he might be with him. But Jesus refused. And he said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he has shown you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. Such a cool story. So on Wednesday, I don't know if I have the time to read you all the rest of chapter 5, but I encourage you to do that. And as is usual in Lent here on Mondays, it's our prayer day, but I'm singing our prayers. 2 more verses today of one of my favorite hymns, Tree of Life and Awesome Mystery. In our call to be a blessing, may we be a blessing true. May we live and die confessing Christ as Lord of all we do. Christ as Lord of all we do. Living water of salvation, the foundation in our soul, springing up in new creation, flow in us and make us whole. Flow in us and make us whole. We'll see you on Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.